Hello everyone, once again this is Dare to Speak, and in this video I'm going to be interviewing a former old school Spanish Cobra from the 1980s, and he's going to talk about his story about the neighborhood that he grew up in, which is the same one that I did, in the south side of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's going to talk about his experience of how he got involved in that gang to begin with, the things that he's done, the things that he has actually seen and experienced. And I hope this will help educate a lot of younger generations about what it's like to be in street gangs. So here we go. Okay. Want to state your name for the record?
My name is Luis, L-U-I-S, Pizarro, P-I-Z-A-R-R-O.
Okay. Now, you're a member of the Spanish Cobras, and when did you join?
I came to Milwaukee when I was about 15, 16 years old. Came straight from Puerto Rico. And because of the life that I was living in Puerto Rico, my mom decided to send me here. And I was about 15, between 15 and 16. And had hanging around with a couple of Puerto Rican guys that I knew from school. And as soon as I knew, they just introduced me to this group of guys that, will call themselves Spanish Cobras. And we became friends, and one thing led to another, and made the decision to be part of the group.
Okay. I know that back in those days, especially when I was in elementary school, and even like when I was in Kazi in 1985 when I went there, I know that even back then, to get initiated, you had to get beat in. You had to go through a line and get beat in. That was
that's the misconception that a lot of people believe. You see, in California and Detroit, Michigan, New York, they have different blessings. They call it initiation, a blessing to initiate in the gang. Milwaukee was not always like that. Milwaukee, you had to do something to join. You had to do something. You don't have to get beaten. You have to prove that you were worthy enough to be part of the group. So you didn't have to get beaten. There was other options that you could have done, and I didn't have to get it beat. I didn't have to beat.
So not everything was a ritual beating for.
No, you were told, this is what you need to do. This is the option, this or that. Some people didn't want to do this, so they got beaten.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to show real quick. Now, in this picture here, that I see right here, you were how old?
I was 16.
You were 16 around there. And this was when you were in Kazi, right?
Yeah, that's basically, that's how the summer of 1988 when I first came from Puerto Rico.
1988? 1988.
Yeah.
And yeah, in this booklet here. And this is with your friends.
I don't want to just for them to be shown. You didn't show me, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
Sorry.
But I just glanced at it real quick.
Okay.
So, but this is you here, okay? I'm not gonna go back to this picture, but what was this one at?
That was in Chicago. I live here and I lived in Chicago.
Okay. And in this picture right here?
That was in Chicago as well. I was about 19 years old.
How big were they in numbers during that time? Do you remember?
Hundreds of thousands. You have groups of sessions, pockets of sessions everywhere. Different. You can have 500 here. You can have 1,000 there. You can have 300 here. you're 50, 25, 150, and they're all over the place. You know what I mean?
And I guess you were told already about the Medina brothers. How about them?
Yeah, I met the Medina brothers. I hung around with one of the Medina brothers. You know, when I was 16 years old, you know, I got to know him and got to know, a little bit about his family. Very religious family. They were very religious. That's one thing people don't know. His family. His mom was a very religious woman. I believe that if she's still alive right now, she was a very religious woman, you know, and that's sad because, you know, when you talk about their sons, nobody knows the women who, you know, that lady was I don't even want to say religious. She was a very devoted Christian woman. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
Very devoted Christian
Very
woman.
spiritual and stuff.
Yes, spiritual. And unfortunately, her sons were not. They were not. They went after the father, who was the father, he was the godfather of the gang. Pepe.
Pepe, okay.
Right.
Pepe Medina?
Pepe Medina, yeah. Pepe Cuchilla. That's why they used to call him. Pepe Cuchilla.
So they were pretty much influenced by him?
Pretty much. You know, he was not a nice guy. You know, I mean, there's nobody to play with. He was not nobody to play with, you know what I mean? That's why they call him Cuchilla. You know, he always had a pocket knife and he would cut you up, man. You know, he won't.
So he was intimidating.
Yes,
big time.
Yes, definitely. An old man that a lot of people respected around him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Richard, I know, was the oldest one. And then he had two younger brothers, Jamie and Willie Medina.
Willie and Jamie.
And then they had a sister. I forgot what her name is, but
Yeah. Rosali, Rosmari.
so you joined. And what do you remember? What year you joined?
I joined that organization just like any other kid. I was, came here. I had a lot of good influence, you know what I mean? I came from Puerto Rico, my mom sent me here, and that was the only crew my friends were part of them, they were part. So in order for me to be, it was like no peer pressure. It was I chose to be part of the organization that they were part of, you know what I mean? And Milwaukee was either Latin Kings or it was either Spanish Cobras. You go to school and you'll be bullied by the Latin Kings. If you lived in that neighborhood, you'll be bullied by the Latin Kings. And I was living in a neighborhood where, we were confronted a lot by the junior Latin Kings. So we had to fight a lot. And because, they said, man, why don't you just join us so you can have some backup? And I said, why not? Just decided to join them.
About how many fights did you ever get into?
Man, I've been fighting all my life, like physical fights, I had plenty. I couldn't, my fingers are not enough to count. I had a lot of physical fights, a lot, with a lot of individuals.
Trouble in school because of it?
Yeah. Kazi, South, I was kicked out of South Division because of a fight that I had, and then, that's who I was. I was a young, troubled kid with a lot of potential, with a lot of talent, that decided to make some bad decisions, some bad choices.
Okay. So, okay, aside from the fights, you noticed, when you were in Milwaukee, I noticed the Spanish Cobras there were from mud streets usually. Because they used.
It depends on the year. In 1984, the Spanish Cobras were on 7th in Madison, from Greenfield, Scott, Washington, 6th to 10th, Scott and Madison, that whole area, right there where the Salvation Army used to be on 6th and Greenfield, that was Cobras, Spanish Cobras. You know what I mean? That whole area was controlled by the Cobras from the 70s to 85. And then in 1988, when Orlando got killed, then some of the family of Orlando decided to create their own gang called La Familia because of that incident that happened with their uncle.
Okay. Now, okay, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
Right.
I'll respect it, no big deal. But back in the 80s, I think, because you were in Kazi and during that time, who was the leader of the Spanish Cobras in Milwaukee?
Man, to be honest with you, who was the Spanish Cobras leader? I don't even remember. I don't recall in that year. It's been a lot of years, man.
Okay, that's fine.
30 years.
And during that time in the late 80s, because I wasn't really all that familiar because most of the friends and the people that I knew growing up with in Kazi were junior kings, and they were.
Some of them were bullies, man.
Yeah, they were punks.
They used to bully you to either join them, or they used to bully you to be intimidated by them. So you had the choice to either join them or join another gang. That's what we did.
Yeah, they never messed with me because I was always friends with them. I knew them from elementary school. But as far as numbers, there were about maybe 50 in that area.
And they were a large.
And then they got larger.
They were large. I mean, they had the junior ones, and then they had the mature black kings, the mans, in the 20s.
Yeah.
And you have the younger kids, 14, 15, and 16, and there was a lot of them. You know what I mean? I mean, I remember going to Mitchell Street Fest, and you'll see, on 12, all the way from 12 and Mitchell all the way to 15, it was nothing but junior kings and Latin kings. And the folks, Cobras, and some of the folks, they should stay right on 7th in that area, Mitchell or 8th. You know what I mean? That area. But you see the numbers. You could see the numbers because everybody came with their garments or their colors. So you see that there was a lot of black and yellows over there and just a little small group of black and greens. Wearing black and greens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, okay, and aside from all that stuff that happened, I noticed the junior kings were like 50 strong, and that's it. But the more adult ones, I wasn't really familiar with how many were in numbers. But the only Spanish Cobras that I knew, not knew, but seen was during the late 70s and early 80s when they had the territory by 11th and Walker, Chicago School Elementary. I remember when I was 6 years old, that was 1978, and I saw the graffiti. And of course, 6 years old, you didn't know what gangs were.
Yeah.
I saw the staff and the diamond, and then the S back then. And a giant Cobra sign. It was in the side of this one grocery store, and I would see it on the pavement, on the sidewalk, or carved or in the ground or something like that. And and later on, I found out what the gang was, and this is before the Latin Kings even came into the picture.
That's been about almost 40 years.
And what is the significance or the meaning of the staff and diamond?
I cannot tell you, man. I mean, you can Google that stuff. It's all over the Google. It's all over the internet. You know what I mean? There are different things. It means different things for different, but you can Google, that information is free. You can Google that.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. I mean, I know there's like whatever. It seems almost kind of like Masonic with the symbols kind of thing.
Well, the symbols represent different things. The gangs, folks, and peoples. They got different peoples. Are the umbrella organization for a lot of the small street gangs. But they all come together under the family or the banner of people. The people, folks, and people. So the folks used to be, going up, and then the people are going down. So the pitchforks and you got the vice lords, you got the insane vice lords, and then you got the Mickey Cobras, and then you got inside the Black Answer disciples, you got the Spanish Cobras, you got the Latin Eagles, you got the disciples, and you got all branches. But all those branches of folks come together under the umbrella of folks. And the people, doesn't matter. You Vice Lord, Mickey Cobras, if you CVL or Latin Kings, they related, they family. But that family is the people flag.
Okay, you said that the Spanish Cobras, they stopped using the pitchforks in what year?
I think it was probably 80, 90, probably 90, 91 or 88, 89 to 91.
Somewhere around there?
I know it was about 80, 88, about 88 or 89. Yeah. They stopped using those pitchfork signs and they went with the diamond being the symbol. Yeah.
Okay. Now you were in it for like how many years?
I mean, my stay in the group was not like, I got out when I was 20 years old, so you can imagine 4 years. I was really there for 4 years. You know.
Okay, and now in this picture, this one here, you're with your kid, and it says here 12, 15, 92.
That's when I got out.
That's when you left the gang.
I already had left the gang November 28. I was already out of the gang. November 28, 1992, I was already out. My son was born on 12/11/92, and I was already serving Jesus Christ. I gave my life to Jesus in November 28, 1992.
Okay. So you made a positive change. I get that. I understand that.
I made the best choice I have ever made in my life. One choice got me into a lot of trouble, but another choice got me out of trouble. That's the best decision I ever made. Walk away from my friends that I got to know. But I either have the choice to live the life, to show my son, this is who your dad is, this is the life that I live, and you next, or to stop it right there and tell my son, from now on, you're going to live a different life. And that's what I did. My son don't know gangs. That's not the life he knows. He's 28 years old. He don't know none of that. I made the right choice. I'm married for almost 25 years. I would have never met my wife had I be living that life. I would have been gone a lot of years. But I thank God for his mercy.
Okay. I get that. Now, you said you're into music, or you were doing something with music?
I did for almost 10 years. I did a lot of music. I created. I have always been musical talented. And when I came from Puerto Rico, see, this is when I got out of the gang. I invested lyrics, songs about the violence, gangs, my testimony. I made my testimony a song. How I lived in a gang, and I made that a song. The Spanish Journal did as Milwaukee gay member share gospel through rap. So I was able now to share my life story in lyrics and not paint a picture of how beautiful the streets are, but the reverse, talking about the reality. What happened to me? What happened to others that I watched die, killed, shot because of the choices they made? So I was able now to use the platform of music to relate to younger, and I was able to win a lot of people for God through music. It gave me a platform to share my story. That's how I got to Milwaukee when I was 16. Sent me here from Puerto Rico to get a better life, but
Can you recall your very last moment where you actually had a reality check, like, I need to get out of this gang, I need to whatever? Was it from a tragedy? Was it from a fight? Or was it from your parents or your mom maybe crying or something like that? Or what is it that made you like, I need to get out, just like, I can't live this life anymore?
The deeper you are in the street gangs, you could be a hustler, you could be a drug pusher, you could be a pimp. The deeper you are in whatever sin you're doing, the harder it's going to be to let go. It was hard to let go. I had a lot of respect. My name then carried, they knew who I was. Everybody knew who I was. My enemies knew who I was. I had a lot of respect within the organization, and I had a lot of respect and enemies because of the things that I did. You know what I mean? And so it was not easy to leave. It was not something that happened. I got shot when I was 17. You know what I mean? I watched my own friend take his own life in front of me. You know what I mean? So I watch a whole lot of stuff. I experienced in 4 years, I experienced I experienced a whole lot of stuff. And we don't go to no counselor to get, we didn't go to no, sit down and tell somebody about the guys that we lost and the things that we had done. You have to live with them things. And then you gotta, you have to use drugs to numb the pain. You gotta get high every day, either on cocaine or heroin to numb the pain. You know what I mean? And some of them, are deeper than others. But what got me out of the gang was knowing that I was going to be a father. My son got me. It was the reason why I left the street and the gang was because my son, I wanted to give him a better future. I wanted to be a father, something that I didn't have growing up. I missed my father. So I wanted my son to have a father. And he did.
Okay. How old is your son now?
28.
I respect that. I'm glad you made the right choice.
I did.
I'm glad. I'm very glad. And yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up in a little while. But I was gonna say, as far as I know, because I think I got the information right. Mm-hmm. I think it was Jamie Medina who the one who, from what I heard, he committed suicide.
Both of the brothers committed suicide. Mac committed suicide in 1989. That's the third. I believe it was the youngest. Mac, Mac, Medina, and then Jimmy committed suicide 3 years ago.
Was he here in Milwaukee or?
He, as far as, this is not something that I, factual. What I heard, he committed suicide he was going back to prison and he took his own life.
Yeah, he don't want to go back there again.
Yeah.
I heard, I don't know, so I heard from one source that he hung himself or put like a noose around his neck and then he just hung himself. Jamie.
Yeah.
Now, Willie Medina, I heard, is still alive.
Willie's serving time in Illinois, and Max in Illinois. Willie is, it's been locked up for almost 45, 48, 47 years. Almost 47 years. Almost 40. He got locked up in 73, 74.
And the father, the one Cuchillo or whatever.
Pepe. We used to love him, Pepe Cuchillo. I mean, he's a tough man. A Puerto Rican man coming from Chicago to Milwaukee, and he made his name known. He will stab anybody, happy. He didn't thought about it, you know what I mean? So you won't mess with an old man like that. And there's still a lot of old men like that here. When they tell you, man, don't mess with dude. You think because they old, they had a reputation. You know what I mean? They were quick with the knife. They were quick with that blade, and they'll cut somebody else quick. And that's why they gave him that nickname.
Yeah. And Richard Medina, he was assassinated or in a drive-by in 1979.
You talking about Casey?
Casey, yeah, King Cobra.
King Cobra. Yeah, Casey was he was killed in Chicago. I believe it was 87 or 86, something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm not really sure of the name, but I think it's either his girlfriend or wife or whatever like that, was Sophia or something.
I didn't have the chance to meet him, but I know cousins who spoke to me about him. I know a good friend of mine who I spent a lot of years with and who knew him and spent a lot of time with him, and he talked to me about him. It's like you growing up with someone and you idolize athlete, and somebody told you about who let's say for example Aaron how's that baseball Roberto Clemente, being from Puerto Rico. Roberto Clemente, and they tell you about Clemente. You never get to see him play, but they tell you, man, I watch him play. I saw him. I went to his game. He was a very humble man. So that's what I heard about Richard, JC. I heard the other side of the man. He wanted to help people. He was a community activist. He wanted to help things in the community, but things went south. They were supposed to be an organization to do good.
Yeah, because basically, how they originated in Chicago, they just banded together because they were bullied by white gangs back then, that time.
Right.
So Puerto Rican kids, they just banded together and they were just protecting the neighborhood.
That's right.
And they weren't necessarily like troublemakers.
Right. No.
It wasn't until like the years went by, the decades, like up until the 70s and the 80s. That's when things started getting real bad, and then
it was to protect the community and protect each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole goal of it. But things went in another way.
And
Unfortunately,
And they were the offshoot of a gang called the Crazy Snakes.
Yeah.
And then they just changed the name to Spanish Cobras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like I said, I take this opportunity to share, that I did. I spent some time, but I'm no longer. That's the choices that I made. You know what I mean? But for the past 20 years, I have seen a lot of guys come out of the lifestyle. I have helped a lot of former gang members who are now, they no longer gang members. You know what I mean? And I think I can be proud of that. That I have planted a little bit of good in this community in Milwaukee. All of telling people about, the choices that I made and the choices that got me out of that lifestyle. And I thank God for that,
Okay. Well, okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the info. And so I'm just going to wrap this up then.
All right.
¿Está bien?
Yep.